Okay.
Oh, oh my gosh. Okay. You know what I also want to do? I want to turn off the sound from the YouTube so we don't get what we got the last time. Okay. Oh my gosh. Almost there, guys.
I have the link, so I'm sharing it.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. Where's the screen that I want to share? Okay. Share. Good. Amazing. I feel like we're on. I feel like we're on. So, yay, we're on. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Poka Reads. This month or today, we'll be discussing the Kelewele Connection, which is a romance novel by a duo, actually, a dynamic duo, Quantima Choneboa. Oh my God, I just butchered that, but that's okay. By two authors. We'll get into that, one of which is right here with us, our very own Adwoa, who is the CEO of Poka. So, I mean, there isn't really much to say. We've all read the book, we think. We've all read the book, so we're about to get started. Jessie. I know, right?
I'll tell you more about it as we go, but
yes, our moderator today will be Jessie. So she has her structure, she will lead us through the discussion, guide us on the discussion, and hopefully it'll be an interesting one. It was a good book, I thought. So yeah, enough babbling, let's get to it. Poka Reads the Kelewele Connection. Take it away, Jessie.
Yep. I mean, ordinarily, Nanaja should be leading this discussion because it's her book.
Ordinarily, I don't know what you mean.
But I'll do it in her stead. And this is a spoiler discussion, obviously. So keep that in mind. We have our internal Poka Reads rating system we'll use, and then we'll read this book. The author of the book is right here. It would have been nice to have your other half joining this discussion, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I guess we'll answer all our questions and take all of the heat. So before we start, I guess the overview of the book, it's a Ghanaian contemporary romance. That's how you describe it, right? And it's between Efriye and Nana Yao. They made Kelewele joined. I think in my head I know who joined, and I absolutely hate that woman because she's so rude to me. But
is this Laboni, the Laboni Kelewele place?
So you know the Legon one. She sells Kelewele joints, right?
Campus.
Oh,
You're thinking of Sarah.
That's not her.
I didn't have a particular joint in mind.
I'm sure you
decided
you like buying from her. Anyway, so between Efriye and Nanaya,
don't stop her market.
True. But there's a rude woman who sells Kelewele and chicken wings at night markets. Just so rude to me 2 years ago, and I've never been back. So I think Efriye likes hard Kelewele. She goes, it's done, and Nana Yao, a stranger, offers the last bit of Kelewele to her, and then I guess that's where their relationship blossoms. That's basically an overview of the book. So let's start with the plot. What do you guys think? It's a romance. It's between, I think it's a little bit of academia between two young people. I can go first. When I started, I was almost afraid it was going to be a university romance. And I absolutely
I
hate
know, right?
YA
You have to explain
in
this
any
concept
form.
of university romance. What does that mean?
Like kids. It's like
Like
kids.
a bunch of
Okay.
university
Like
kids,
undergrads.
Juvenile. Okay.
undergrads. And I don't particularly like YA in general, except in very rare instances. Whether in
Especially how they think. No, go on, sorry.
fantasy, sci-fi, not the biggest fan. But this wasn't, thankfully. And so the Kelewele connection, I think generally I read books that are not romance. Romance is a genre I read the least. But two books this year have been very comfortable and comforting and just doing what they say they want to do. And that's the Kelewele Connection and the Spell Show. And it's, for me, a departure from all of like the complex characters and plots I read. It's very relaxing and comforting. And Kelewele Connection in particular reminds me of home because it's set in my backyard. That's where the story began.
Literally.
Yeah. Who wants to go first? Tipora, what do you think? What did you think about the plot?
Oh, am I going first? Okay. The plot of the book. I thought it was a good plot. So, I mean, you've touched on it. So it really centered around two main characters, which was a difference, which was sort of like a huge difference from the last or the first book that we read, which had sort of multiple main characters and not sort of like a central one. But this one was two central characters, and it's really the story of, is their love story. So how they met, and you know how they kind of navigate that meeting and all that comes with love and falling in love for the first time. And you know, we follow them through the ups and downs of that journey. I think if you've ever been in love, it will resonate with you. And it really takes us all across Accra. Like if you're familiar.
I want to talk to the reveal. Huh? I said I want on this.
Sorry, guys. My daughters are going to get involved.
Precious.
Guys, I'm live streaming, so you need to go away. Okay, kisses. Thank you. Bye.
Daddy, kiss you.
No.
This is for you.
Aww.
Nice. So anyways, yes, so it takes us all across Accra, it takes us even abroad. It's a real sort of immersion into the love story or the, you know, of two couples. So I thought the plot was strong, it was relatable. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the plot for now. I want to hear from others before I try.
What did you like and what did you not like?
What didn't I like about the plot?
And what did you like?
Oh, okay. Well, I liked that. I don't know. Rain check. Elise, can you go? I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, I can go. I agree with Jessie about the fact that when I started it, I also thought it was a YA, like a university. You know how they think they're going to get married right out of university? Like that stresses me out.
Rude.
You're in first, you're thinking that you're going to marry this person. But anyway, very glad that it evolved beyond that. I liked the banter in the book. Like I liked Ifri and Anaya seemed really comfortable with each other, which was really nice. There were parts of it that I thought were too good to be true. Like when they went to this, wasn't Cape Coast, some beach place. That part,
Takoradi.
I was like, Takoradi, yeah. I was a little like, I don't know. Like I think they had a fight and the girl was doing too much. That's the part I did. I feel like that part I didn't like. I was like, get it together. But I feel like in
How I
general,
feel about every romance book. When it gets to that point where they fight and they have to, I'm like,
get it
just get
together. Like a simple conversation can fix this, you know?
right?
And then how the love happened.
I know.
Through the conversation, the love will happen
Yeah,
through that
Nobody got time for
conversation.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And there were there was so there were parts where I thought they just needed some conversation and that would help. So I think the only parts were the a little too good to be true vibes that I got, but generally I liked the plot. Yeah, I like that it evolved beyond university because
The university was just I guess the initial setting for them.
yeah, like where they met, which is fair.
Yeah.
A lot of people meet their partners way like in university, so makes sense.
I can go.
Okay.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure.
Why? It's not what you expect. It's not what you expect. I
Okay.
read a
Did not
third of the
expect
book,
this.
guys.
See,
I
she
am-
read a third. I love
I'm
it.
working on it. I'm working on it. Reading is not my strong suit right now. So I read about a third of it. So my kind of perspective is really coming from just the beginnings of it. But I think similar to a lot of you guys, I don't typically read romance stories, at least not anymore. I used to love it growing up until I realized that's not the real world. So I don't read a lot of romance stories. So this was kind of new for me. And to be honest, I wasn't particularly excited to read a romance story, but I had to show my support.
I love it.
I appreciate
And I
it.
found it to be pretty good. I liked the kind of the simplicity of it. I'm not saying that it's a simple book, but I like kind of how they were just, like you said, their banter and kind of how you would hear her perspective and then his perspective. So it kind of felt very comfortable and conversational and just kind of very easy to relate to. And I think it was also kind of a little bit of a eye-opening. I didn't get too deep into it, but to see things from their perspective. I didn't go to university in Ghana. I went to university elsewhere. So I think, looking at how their experience was allowed me to kind of envision what mine could have been if I had stayed in a Ghanaian university, for example. So I thought that perspective was interesting. Very different perspective. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, sorry guys, if I was distracted, I was posting the link on Instagram so that, if anybody was interested, they could watch Poka Reads live. But yes, let me add a little bit to what I was saying. I mean, I'm echoing what everybody's already said. Yes, I thought the dialogue, and I think like the way we've divided it, I think we'll get more into the writing a little bit later, but I did think the dialogue was very well done. Like it felt very natural, like very much like conversations that would be had. The banter was very clever, which is, I think, very indicative or from my knowing of the author. Like it was witty, sharp, it flowed and, very nice back and forth. Like I loved their banter as well. And like I thought it was in that respect great. I did, in terms of plot, I did think like when they first met, fell in love, and eventually got together. That was a very short window of time. Is that realistic? Is that realistic? We can get into that. But I was like, and I did not like controversy. I didn't like the end. And if we can get there. But I was like, what?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think it was really quite reminiscent of like young love. They weren't high school, they weren't university students, so they were quite mature. But yeah. Anyways, let's get into the deep. That's like a more sort of
okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the characters. I think this is where I have the most thoughts. The characters.
Let's hear you.
Starting with, I'm very character driven. I love a complex character, and I like to analyze a character. And anyway, Efriye, I first thought she was reckless. How do you follow a man you just met to Laboni? Give it but I thought back and I realized I did the same thing in my early 20s.
Look at that.
Okay.
So then it's realistic. Maybe now I'm never going to do that now because I'm older and wiser. But in my early 20s, I definitely put myself in reckless, probably dangerous situations if the party
you were saved.
was a murderer. So initially I was like, Efri, what are you doing? But I'm like, okay, you know what? I've done that. I've done worse actually. And then
Okay.
so there's
Say
that.
more.
And Nanaya, oh my goodness. First of all, I love that he's I think in real life, I like a good grumpy man. In my stories, not so much. So I like that he wasn't grumpy and he was interested in her. I thought he was he said I love you after 3 days or something. He was
When you know, you know.
in a few
After 3 days.
like it was like a week or 3 days. I'm like, I would
This is like, that's giving me the
keep
ache.
it in your heart and tell me after a month.
Tell me that
Yeah.
you knew. Tell me later that you knew when you met me. But
Yes,
don't tell me
sir.
after
After 3 days, it's
You see, woman. You see, woman.
a red flag.
It's a man that knows what he wants or not.
Mm. We'll find out later that you knew.
Yeah, and also at some point, I read it in the beginning of April, so I took notes so I wouldn't forget. So if you find me looking off camera, it's referring to my notes.
Mhm.
At some point, I found her motivations a little bit confusing because she said she was sending screenshots or messages to her friends, and it seemed as if she's the type to rush into relationships and start planning. At some point, she even said she'll plan like a whole marriage after a first date or something. I don't really remember. But then like a relationship is presented to her with this like awesome man who loves her, and then she's pulling back. Like, you know, you are the type who plan your wedding in your head when the man says, "Hi, my name is Anayao." And then again, like you've met this awesome man. He's telling you all of the things. He's caring, he loves you, he's giving you great oral sex. And then
Was
you
it?
don't I mean, according to a
Okay.
free date, yes.
I mean, I didn't get that, but okay.
Did you not? Several times, at least
Hey.
2 times. I remember.
Several is a stretch.
And yeah, like just diving in head first into a situationship, and then like I guess a few weeks later saying, hey, this is not what I want. It was just a bit confusing. I felt like she was playing with someone's heart. And I liked her better as a character than Nana Yao, only because she's a woman and I'm a little bit partial to women. But I found it a little bit unfair and slightly cruel to Nana Yao because he's wearing his heart on his sleeve, and you eat his food, you will, take his head and everything, and then you say that you don't like him.
Mhm.
That's
Right. Mhm.
who wants to go next about the characters? What do you guys
I
think?
can go. I like Danaya better than I liked Ifri. Because
Really?
I felt so bad for
That's why you
him.
hate
That was
women.
great. Nanaya was-
I felt really bad for him. I just kept thinking, I really hope there's no man that I have treated this way in the past, you know? It's just I like the way that he, like you said, had his heart on his sleeve. He was very in tune with his emotions, and he could say, look, this is what I want. This is what I want. Like, I love you, I want you. But I thought it was too quick. That I agree. It was too quick. He could have waited. He should have waited. Maybe
What's there
he
to
wouldn't
love
have
after 3
free.
days?
Exactly. You don't know anything about her. Like, I think it's part of what freaked her out. And it's justifiably so, because if you tell me you love me after 3 days, I'll know that you're not serious because you don't know me. Like, what do you mean? Um, I felt like if there were parts where Ify was just doing too much, like she made a big deal out of a lot of things that were not necessary. Like the trip where I feel like that trip is what I remember. I read this a while back and tried to refresh my memory, but I feel like that trip that they did,
Yeah.
she was just doing the most. I was like, this could have been a great trip, but sis was just doing the most. Yeah. Yeah, so that's my take. I liked Nanaya better than Efriye. And like the fact that he went to Edinburgh, honestly, like, come on.
Right?
Let me tell you, visa issues, then flight tickets.
Right?
This was a determined man.
Right?
So yeah.
Nanaya was sweet. He's a sweet
Yeah,
boy.
he was very sweet.
Yeah, let me see. What did I think? Afria's character was interesting, but you know what? I think it's okay. She was complex, is what I found, right? There
Mhm.
was, and the authors explain why. She had lost her mother in a very painful way. And so I think when she was quite young, and I think that really influenced sort of, whatever character that she ended up developing. Because I kind of imagine her as somebody that's, very outgoing, sort of uses her wit and humor and like all of like her quick thinking to kind of mask some sort of pain that she has or intimacy issues perhaps that she even has, right? Because I also found her to be quite forward in sort of a sexual way, how she expressed herself sexually, but only to find out that she was actually a virgin. So for me, that was a little bit incongruent as well. I'm just like, the way she speaks about it, the way she kind of wants this intimacy, yearns for it, reaches for it, but is still a virgin. Like, what does that say? But yeah, I mean, yes, definitely she was a bit of a play girl, I would say. She was just here to have fun. She wanted to have fun. She knew she was there for a short time. She wasn't expecting to fall in love. She was in Ghana and, she was in her last maybe week or so. And she's like, why not have some fun? I don't think she meant, she thought it would go far. And then it ends up sort of being more than, she probably anticipated. And I think that's within anybody to kind of feel a little bit scared and a little bit like, wait a minute, what did I get myself into? Have you never talked to a guy that you were kind of just flirting with and then all of a sudden they're in love with you? You're like, hey, what did I get myself into?
You see, women.
That's why I felt like
Yeah,
I
women
hope
and
I've
lip
never
balm.
done I hope I've never
You
done this
probably
whole
have,
Nanaya thing
Elise.
to
You probably
anyone.
have.
I'll
Probably
feel
have.
so bad. Yeah.
We're just trying to have
If
small
Elise has done
fun.
something to you, please send us a message.
So
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Tipra, because she seemed, I guess where the disconnect for me was, she seems like, she's just here to have fun. She's found someone to take her around and help her with her thesis and her PhD, and which is something women like to do. They like to take advantage of men who show a little interest and
Cannot
am I
relate.
wrong? I think that's how you guys wrote her. So, but I guess what I find a little bit hard to reconcile is the fact that she doesn't want a long distance relationship, which is consistent with her actions and her words and the way she dove in head first, but also the portion where she says she's a romantic and she gets ahead of herself and she plans, I guess, a proposal or a wedding after a second date. Girls who are just playing around are not really, like, you're not planning your second date. And that was a little bit confusing.
think about it,
And
but like,
also, so maybe Nanaja, you could clarify that part. Yeah, what were you thinking? What other layers are we missing to every year?
What other layers are you missing? There's a storm here, so you might hear some thunder. I don't know. I feel like you guys are all making great points, which is why I've tried to be quiet because I don't want to steer anybody in my direction. Like, I want to just hear what everybody actually thought based on how she was written so that I'm not biasing anybody. But I think, yeah, you guys generally are saying basically what we were thinking when we wrote If We. She, like Adel was saying, she has those complex bits of her because of how, like, what happened when she was younger. But also she's a bit of a romantic. Like, she wants to have the fling and feel it to the fullness of it. But it's like, oh no, I didn't say let's get married. I just said, oh, look what nice wedding colors we would have, kind of like unintentionally playing with.
At least I'm jumping ship.
You're jumping ship, eh?
Yeah.
No, but you know what? No, I think it makes complete sense because it's one thing to fantasize. Why do you think people like it's not the same to think and imagine something or put it into action? So it's easy to fantasize, easy to want romance. But when romance is presented to you, there is that now reality of overcoming all your insecurities, your whatever it is to actually accept the romance. So I don't really see that was conflicting. Like I think she wants it but in the end, she does say, I'm so terrified of falling in love and then losing the love of my life because my dad almost never recovered from that experience. Actually, he didn't. I felt bad for the dad. I wish he had also found some sort of peace with the situation, love with the situation, maybe love beyond. But it seemed like he's going to live out the rest of his life, having lost the love of his life and never having the chance to love again. So like in this deep sadness, for most of his life, which made me sad. But I think that's what it is. It's like she's fantasizing about the thing that she wants most, but she's afraid to grab it when it's presented to her. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that, I feel. Not just in love, but in sort of all things. So I'd wish to travel here, skydive. Okay, let's go. Well, you know what I mean? Like it's a different
The reality of
height.
Yeah.
Speaking of
what you
her,
said,
what did we
Adele,
think about the side? Okay, go ahead.
Adwoa. Actually, as I was reading it, I was thinking, how did you and your co-author write this? Did you take one character and they took another character, or did you come up with the characters together? Because it did feel like it was two very different people who wrote these different characters. Yeah, so I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
It did or didn't?
We get this question all the time, and that's actually a good idea. Maybe we should try that. But we don't write that way, where like one person picks one character. Maybe, you know what, that might work for like subsequent works. But how we do it is sometimes we are literally finishing each other's sentences. So she would start a thought that I like, so I can just kind of pick it up and do something else with it, and she can come back in. So it's a live Google document that we're both working on. And so she can say, oh, I think Ifria should say this in this scene. And I can either leave her to it to finish an entire chapter, or I can pick up like in the middle of her sentence and say, oh, she can also say this, and kind of just add on. So she starts out talking about writing Ifria. I pick up in the middle. Then I actually introduce Nanayao into the story. And then she also picks up and then writes a bit of Nanayao. So we are kind of really just crisscrossing into each other's thoughts and literally writing together. If we wrote them separately, I guess it would be very obvious because they would clearly, like if Free would embody probably me, and then I would embody her, which I don't know if that might be jarring, not sure. So that's not how we've done it in the past. We are literally picking up each other's thoughts and putting them down and leaving comments in the corners. And if you don't think something works, you're free to change it. But often we agree with each other's suggestions and we just keep going. And that's how we do it.
Interesting.
So what kind of writers are you? Do you set plots and then you tell this is where the story is going, that's what we're doing with this character?
That's a win. As it comes.
As it comes. We should. What you're saying is a good idea, and we should do that. But we're just very pantsers. Like, we have an idea. She literally had an idea by writing the first line of the book where Ifri is saying she loves Kelewele and she can be kidnapped by Kelewele. And I'm like, oh, this is like a nice story. So the story really starts with that sentence, and we just went with it. So there was no real plan. But as we went on, we were like, oh, how do we want it to end? So maybe we'd say at the end, we want them to have been together. Are they married? Are they dating? Do they have kids? Like, how far into the future do we want to go? So we decide on that at least, and then kind of work our way backwards.
Right. Very
I
interesting.
did have something to say about something Adele said, about about Ifriye. You know how she seemed like this adventurous girl, but then she was a virgin and she was very. I think that's it's very Ghana girl culture.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Really?
It's very, yeah. Like they make it look like, oh, they've done it all, but
here you are.
They really haven't. I mean, definitely you have the people at the extreme who have done it all and want it to look like they don't know what's going on. There's also a lot of that, but like we have a lot of Ghana girls who are living it up, but are very, I won't say innocent, because I feel like in our culture we've made it look like if unless you've had penetrative sex, you haven't
Ah,
had sex.
the
But there's a
theme I
lot
want
of
to
things that
discuss
people
this
have
book when we
done,
get the themes. Yes.
right? Like there's a lot of people that will be like oral sex. They're okay with that. They will have oral sex. Anal sex. For some people, they will have anal sex. Just the fact that they can say that, look, I'm a virgin. Just that that tag is the reason why they will not have penetrative
Vaginal sex.
vaginal sex. Yeah, exactly. So it's quite a thing.
Oh
So
yeah.
who are they saying I'm a virgin to? Like who is
Their
impressed by
mothers.
their mothers? Okay, family, gotcha.
Like who's impressed? Certainly not the
Like, what's the
man.
target market for this virginity?
Yes, what's the market?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's get back to side characters. Let's talk about the side characters and then we can move on to the themes. But before we get to the side characters, I just remembered something, Elise. When they got back from Takrady, I was at the Uber ride on the plane and I felt Ifria was so cold and just so unreasonable.
Yeah.
What even
After-
happened in Takrady? Can somebody remind me? Because I'm just like, why did I
I
forget?
don't remember, Nanajo, what happened. But I remember there was a fight and then she refused
Why
to.
did
They
they
were
fight
having
in
such a
Takrady?
great time, and then they woke up one morning and sis decided that she didn't
Look,
want to
I'm
fall
not
in love. What
controlling
was the
fear, you
Oh, no,
reason?
guys.
I know what happened. He confessed his love for her in Takrady, and she said,
Yes,
"Oh,
yes.
yes, okay,
And
okay."
then
Oh.
Was
she
it always
she
why
said,
she was so upset and she gets to the airport and she leaves him and she
my dear,
calls some other guy to come pick her up or something like
my
Yeah.
that.
No, because
dear.
he told her how he
Because
felt.
men
He told
are
her he loved her.
plenty.
He told her
That's
he
it.
loved her. Yeah. And she didn't
Wow.
respond. And no,
Really?
Jessie, you
he
better
told her
jump
he
ship.
loved her. He didn't
I jumped ship.
respond the way he wanted. So he got gloomy, I think, like upset,
Yeah,
reasonable.
I think.
Like he
Yeah.
comes, no, but you know what? That is problematic because we have been talking about this. Sorry, I know you want to get to side characters, but let's
No, let's go for it.
but yeah, so again, we've talked about how Nana Yao is very much like a jump into the deep end because, you know, this is maybe 3 or 4 days into their meeting. He's already so sprung. I don't know if there's no girls in Ghana or what's happening, but like,
There's
he's
no
met them all.
freeze.
There's no free in Ghana.
One in a
And so
million.
he confesses his love to her there, and she doesn't reciprocate in the way that he wants. So I think he thought if I say I love you, she might say, "Oh, I love you too," or, you know, and then okay, we're together. But I think and she's like, oh, she's more hesitant, be like, actually, I'm not sure that, you know. And then he gets upset. Reasonable. Well, he gets upset and sort of goes into his shell, I believe. And so in return, she kind of also gets upset. So I think that was kind of childish of him in many ways to dump, like, I think this is what do you call this? This is love bombing. I would say this is kind of some
It
places
was
being
100%. It was love bombing from the
akin
beginning.
to love bombing. Yeah. And that's
Nana Yao is just, I hate to say it, Elise, red flag.
I mean, I agree that he was
However,
orange flag, orange.
if someone loves you and they tell you they love you, and then you say no, what do you want them to do? Like,
yeah, they'll be
turn around and have
disappointed. That's
a gay
normal.
old time with you. Of course,
I
this old
agree
girl will be
that,
disappointed, and then they'll be
yeah,
sad and they will be upset. And he didn't overreact. He was just upset and he was maybe a
exactly.
little bit moody, which is expected.
Natural,
You
yes.
haven't been heartbroken, so at least you should have, I guess, the emotional maturity to know that I've just turned down this guy
A
who is
guy
and has spent so much of his money and his time with me, and give him some grace to get over it and not also be upset.
Yeah.
And
yes.
he ends up having to apologize. Like almost he was doing too much. And
Honestly,
he was taking
He's the
advantage.
hothead. I love her. I love that character. I'm just, you guys wanted the
especially in
last,
a
what character was
society.
it, Elise's, but what character was in perspectives we wanted to show Men Pepe? Now she's showing Men Pepe and we're
Okay, who was Nadia?
Nadia.
Nadia.
See, I think
exact
No,
opposite.
you show Bruma Pepe. You don't show
you don't show.
You don't show an eye Pepe, I suppose.
Yes.
Especially in a society now where men feel like they should not be turned down. And so they get violent. They do all these silly things when they're turned down. I feel like she should have been understanding of his like withdrawal. I don't even think he was mean to her. He was just very withdrawn. And I thought that was like a normal response to, okay, I don't love you, I don't love you back. You don't
Right.
expect him to, I don't know, act not the same way he was acting after all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Behaved a
You're
little bit unreasonably at the airport, calling her friend to come pick her up. Like it's just like
Yeah.
rubbing.
Unnecessary.
And very unnecessary, and it's probably something I'll do, but extremely unnecessary.
She's like,
But you
I am
disagree
the
with it.
problem.
I think it's also a way I feel for women because I mean I don't know if this is true in a Freya's case anyways, but I'm just saying for women, once you're kind of falling in love, you're almost kind of all his. And so it's a way to really push a man to his limit to see the depth of his love for you. So I feel like for her, it was very much like, I'm going to be myself in all its sort of toxicity, whatever, she was very much herself, which I enjoyed. And he saw all sides of her, including how she could be moody, inconsiderate, all of those things. And he still decided she's for me. You know what I mean? So I think, I don't know if this was intentional as another way for her to really push him to see, will he come back? And he kept coming back. I think in the end, because of that, keep coming back, he won her over. Yeah.
I love it.
Nanayal's watching this YouTube. Please find a different woman. If 3 years are meant for other men.
I know, you're too sweet.
Wow.
She's going to do too. But who are the side characters?
The roommates, MFA alum. Is MFA?
Who was the one that went to do the confessing? She's the one I didn't like. Who was that one?
Yes. So so there's
MFA,
there
my
is
new friend.
Kwabena.
Kabla, that's yeah.
Oh,
Kabla, it's like the Enzima for.
And then her dad. I really like the relationship between her and her dad.
I liked her and her dad, yeah.
Yeah, it was just so sweet and so not really Ghanaian.
Yeah,
I was going to say, with the I love yous and with the kisses on the cheeks.
Yes.
Ghanaian? Is this Ghanaian?
So as I'm sure that the people.
I think people are
it's
like
not typical.
progressing
I don't
to
think.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's not so far-fetched, especially when it's just the two of them and their mom is not around and
Yeah. He's had to learn to be emotional.
Absolutely adored the relationship between those two, and the dad is a gem.
Yeah, the dad.
It's not in my house, my father's house, that a man will walk in and say, I'm taking your daughter away.
On a weekend.
Region.
Weekend. You're not married.
We are friends. We're just friends.
And he says,
I think they were in their mid-20s because she's, I didn't seem like she had worked much. So she's like maybe 25, 26. Let's say 27.
You're not married? It's not going
you
to
walk
happen.
into my house.
You're just like, make sure you wrap it up.
By the way, I'm taking your daughter to Cape Coast, Takade. For a few nights away. Yeah, no, that's not happening. That's definitely
never.
It's actually something that my mother would say. So I think I may have written that as my mother.
I see.
Like
your mother would say, "Stop it on."
My mother would not mind. My mother will be fine with it. My dad, no.
No,
yeah.
but
so my mom probably do this, and then we'll leave for my dad to find some.
No, but at that age, no. I mean, I feel like that would be okay at that age.
Adele, let me tell you, at this 30 age of mine, my father, if I wasn't married,
and you are married,
even when I'm married, my dad
if you're
is
still
still
living at
very
home,
much.
it would still be a no.
Yeah,
yeah.
As long as you lived at home.
Yeah,
exactly. You live in
I think if you lived
crazy.
yeah, if you lived,
I think personally, they would rather you just lie to them and went than for them to give you.
I agree.
Yeah, because
with your friends. I mean, viewers, we're not saying you should do this, but
I mean, you can do what you have to do.
Your father, please.
Do what needs to be done to enjoy life.
Okay, so there was the dad, and then there was the MF, I think, was her roommate at the university when she was doing her research.
She's the one I didn't like.
Relationship was, I don't know.
So it seems like you're setting up a story between MFA and Kwabenla. and it's
Kabila,
going to
yes.
be, it's giving Kabinla, sorry. It's giving enemies to lovers type
So
romance.
Is that in
Because
the
at
works?
some point at the airport, when the banter between them, I'm like, is this setting up for a sequel?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know if maybe subconsciously I knew that, because as soon as she hinted, because the only hint of anything going on between MFA and Kabenla was at the end at her bachelorette party when she quickly texted whoever and then she ran off. And immediately I knew who she ran off to. I was just like, that must be that Kabenla guy that she hates is who she's gone off to. So I don't know if she was setting that up, and because I didn't clock it at all, even when they hated each other at the airport. I didn't. First of all, I wondered how they knew each other. So I think there was maybe maybe they worked together, I believe. Like I don't feel like that connection was made extremely clear. I think MFL works with Kabenla, or he's her boss or something like that, or co-worker.
I'm not sure if it's in this book, but they do work together. She's kind of working or auditing his firm,
Right. Okay.
so
Right.
that
Yeah,
she's
it
on
wasn't
site.
extremely clear, but I think I
Oh, the
mean,
part with the extension. Is it that one? That's the
I'm sure it's
extension
mentioned
part of
there.
the book.
Probably, yeah.
but I
Okay.
think I had a problem, or I have a problem with MFA and Afriye, because when Afriye started dating Nanaya,
Mhm.
why didn't MFA right away say I've dated him or I used to like him?
I don't think MFA knew Efri was dating Nanayao.
Oh,
And everybody, there are like a million Nanayaos in Ghana. They never met, did they?
And
I
that
don't
is
think
definitely a
they.
common name.
Uh,
But I don't
I
think
don't.
she knew.
Okay, so she
Wait,
didn't
but
think
when
it was the same guy, is what you guys are saying?
Sorry?
She didn't know it was the same guy.
yeah.
I don't think so.
At least that's what
I
I
think they
think.
found out later, but yeah, in the beginning, it doesn't seem like they met.
Wait, but even when they found out, didn't it take a while before? Didn't she just start acting funny before she actually told her? No?
I think so. I don't remember
Yeah, that's the
myself,
part
but
I
I
was
think
like, why
so.
didn't you just tell her right from there?
No, what
I-
happened was, so I thought that she knew, right, who Nanayao was, and they just kept it quiet. Also, and did she ever mention her friend MFA to Nanayao? I don't know. But I don't know if the two of them were aware, but if they weren't, then I guess there's nothing to be said about it. But
But
basically,
also, this is Ghana. Like there are also a million MFS out there.
yeah.
First.
So you're right. If they didn't know, then there's no problem. If she did know, then that would be, I think, for me, a bit of a friendship red flag, because even if it didn't work out, if I happen to be dating him, I think is within your, you should at least let me know, hey, like, no big deal. Like we had a small thing, blah, 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 just so I'm aware. But she didn't say that. And she only found out when somebody posted an old picture on Instagram, and that caused this whole fight
Photo.
again. Right. So, but I mean, okay, I was gonna say I don't like MFA because she didn't tell her friend, but if she actually didn't know that it was the same guy, then I think that's not really a point. But yeah.
No, but she did find out, and it took a while before she said it. So that was my reason for not liking her. Like she didn't say it immediately. She clocked it, and then she started acting funny, like acting distant or something like that to her friend. And I was like, you could literally
I
just
think
have
so.
said
There
it.
was something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Efriye, right? Efriye found out, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I remember that.
Other than that, there weren't any really side characters, or who else?
Yeah, there weren't many.
Weren't
Yeah,
many.
I think the story focused, and also because it's a relatively small book, so
Small,
focus
yeah,
mainly
short.
on the main characters. The side characters were not developed as much.
Mhm.
All right.
But we're open for a sequel.
Yes,
I want the dad to find
an
love.
enemies to lovers trope.
Is that not a
The
follow-up?
dad would be
Tell me I'm
perfect.
wrong.
I want dad to find
Like a little bit of an older love. Oh, I like that.
right.
Second chance romance for an older man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Okay, so let's move on to what's the next thing? The themes. Yes. So for me, I guess the broader themes for me were food, family, and I guess perceptions and around sex and intimacy generally. So for food, generally, I think that's how Ghanaian men show love, by feeding you. So a man will send you food, buy food for you, especially when we're younger in university and things like that. It's just how Ghanaian men show love, and that's how Nana Yao showed his love. And in this case, not only did it fill her up, it also helped with her her thesis. And then family, I really liked her relationship with her dad. Very aspirational for me, and very uncommon in the Ghanaian setting as well. She could tell her dad anything. He wasn't judgmental, but also it was, I guess, a unique type of relationship because they just have each other. She doesn't have a mom. She doesn't have a younger brother that she would have had. So they have the shared trauma, and I guess that sort of molded the kind of relationship that evolved. And probably if mom and younger brother were around, the relationship would have been a little bit more different because someone has to be a good cop and someone has to be a bad cop. And then the broader themes around sex as well, like Elise was saying, like you guys are having sex all the time. You call it whatever you want to call it. But then like what's happening here with no penetration, it reminds me of the Muslim girls from, I guess, the Middle East, who will say they don't want to have vaginal sex, so they'll have anal sex.
Wow.
Like you're having sex, it doesn't matter. So you met this guy in 3 days or in a week, you're having oral sex, you're orgasming left, right, center, but you still say you don't want to have sex. Like, I don't know, make it make sense. So there was that whole...
Just a quick one. I think Tipora might be feeling lost, and maybe Rose as well, because this year you're reading the 2023 version, which was much spicier than the 2024.
Oh,
Wait, you took it out?
I did.
I know
There's
what
somebody
version I
Took it
have.
out. But
There's
yeah,
somebody
so
in the
see, they have
comments.
different covers
Oh,
actually.
I've got this
okay.
Oh.
What
So tell us
version
what the
did-
difference is. Tell us what the
Actually,
difference
I have
is.
both.
I
Reconcile
remember
it, yeah.
myself, but I just know because of Tipora saying she didn't see something earlier. That's why I realized that we made some
Okay.
changes. I want to say last year.
Okay, so Tipora, let me tell you what happened. So now
Hey,
goes
And me.
it's 2 on the stick or something.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I didn't think there was any oral.
He goes to Nana Yao's house, and then they have oral sex in his room.
Wow.
And she orgasms several times.
Pages?
Go to tell
Mark
her
the pages down.
Don't put words in the free's mouth.
Did you mark the pages down? We can go straight to
No,
it.
I didn't, unfortunately.
No, we have the old version. Our old version doesn't
I'll
have.
send you a screenshot.
New version.
Okay. This is the old version too, with this like
No,
oldish
this is
band.
the new version. You
Yeah,
have the
no,
new
this is the
version.
new version.
Which this is the
cleaner.
old version.
Oh, the old
Yeah.
version is spicier.
Yes.
Oh.
Wait, but why did you take it
Are you
out?
feeling cheated?
What happened? Why
Are you feeling
A little
cheated?
bit.
edit it?
Why did you guys take it out?
Why did you edit it?
When I read it again, I felt terribly uncomfortable because I wrote the spicy bits, and it felt like I was sharing my sex life in a sense. I was like, no. So yeah.
Oh man.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So but that does make, I feel like that does make a difference to how we perceive both characters then, because I mean, I was also quite disappointed towards the end when they got married and they hadn't really had sex yet, and it was something that she really wanted. And when they did, I mean, it was kind of glossed over. Like it didn't go, because these romance books kind of really go into like the sexiness of it all. It was kind of like, and they did. And I was like, oh, and it was good or whatever it was, right?
And see.
Yeah. So I was like, what happened there? Like they've been like teasing each other the whole book. It's been months of this. Are you kidding me right now?
It felt to me, and I don't know if it's because I know the authors, and if I'm wrong, correct me in the natural. It felt to me, at least this version, that you, without really going into it, you wanted to hold back because of I guess, your personal religious philosophies
Oh,
Mhm.
without having them go all the way and have vaginal penetrative sex. But I find that ideology a little bit self-defeating because every type of sex is sex. And even if
True.
it's from a religious standpoint, it doesn't make a distinction in the religious text that this kind of sex is okay, so this kind of sex is not okay. I've read romance books where there's no sex until marriage, and it's fine, like it's great. The books are good, whatever. And I've read books where there's sex and whatever. So they could have just made out and not
And
had
not done
sex.
anything, yeah.
Yes. And I guess you made that correction in the new book. But this spicy one, which is, I guess, my opinion, the better one.
I'm inclined to believe it is the better one.
Wow,
Several
guys.
sex scenes.
Right. So the old one is
Detailed
not being
written
published
sex scenes.
anymore at all.
A 3 years feeling,
No.
moans, trembling.
Oh,
Do you mind?
Only to come and later tell us that you don't want to have, you're
You know,
not
I
having.
don't want to
I'm
have
so
sex.
confused.
You're having sex the whole time. What are you talking
It's a
about?
family show.
People have vaginal sex and they don't orgasm. You're orgasming.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
not good.
interesting.
But, yeah, so I think because I know the authors, I felt like there was a sort of like religious undertone and a holding back, only because you didn't want them to have premarital sex and then
Indeed.
wait until they
But
get
then
married.
again, you
And
make a
then
point. Then they shouldn't have done anything at all.
so
Mm. Also, the writing of the story is not necessarily reflective of your personal religious views. These are things that happen in society, whether we like it or not.
True, yeah.
In church, whether we like it or not, it will be done. So yeah,
Right.
there's also that.
But I see where, because when I first started reading the book, and I think more with this book than the previous book perspectives, I was very much aware of that I knew the author. And so I think I had to make and it took a while, but I had to make very strong sort of like conscious decisions not to read into, is this experience something that they've experienced in their life? Are they saying this because it happened to them? Like I wanted to kind of divest that so I could,
Right.
judge the book sort of like more, so I didn't want to think, oh, she's like, oh, and he held me on the back and like, hey, is this what husband's doing to her?
But there are very few people that know you that will read your book. Majority of the people
what I'm
that read your
saying.
book don't
No,
know
but
you.
but I
and
understand.
also because of Edinburgh and Abena and
Yeah, as for that part, and the Kelewele, the fact
he
that the
visited
two
you
I
in
know,
Edinburgh. Is this what you did to him?
Oh
the
God.
fact that I know that these people like Kelewele, this one likes hard, this one likes soft. I was like, this is certainly.
No, but I think that's what I'm saying. I think when you're writing and you're keeping in mind that the audience will be people you know, and they will even unintentionally make those connections. They'll say, she must have experienced this because how else did she think of this? Well, also work of fiction. Is your job as an author to come up with all the various scenarios and to imagine things. That's part of writing, right? But I understand kind of that because eventually I was able to read the book forgetting about who the author was. So I kept it quite generic, but in the beginning it was very much like, oh my God, I know who wrote this, right? So
yeah,
like
at least
people
who know you who will read it are very
exactly makes you hold back. I think it really does.
That being said, when your parents are reading your book, it's such an interesting
Oh, they
experience.
shan't be reading my book.
Wait, did they read
Really? You
My
could
dad
have given
did.
them two different types of
Really?
books, explicit and the regular.
Yeah,
Because he
the regular.
honestly, he wanted us to do the launch in a church, and I said, "There's no way that's gonna happen." So that's what
about church people.
After you insulted the church in your book.
I know, probably his church.
Exactly. So that's when I think that made him, because he's not much of a reader. So that's what made him want to read it, because he was like, "What's happening in
What
the
did
book?"
you
So
write?
he did read it.
One theme that I want to look at, I think, was it struck me that all of the characters, had kind of done their undergrad in Ghana and gone abroad for their masters. Like every single one. Oh, I did mine well, she was in
That's
Edinburgh,
a
Scotland.
very common
Somebody had been to
theme.
London. Somebody, I think there were a few anyways, but I was just like, and even just looking within, I'm just like, oh, that's an interesting theme when it comes to education or how we, yeah. So I kind of want to maybe dig a little bit into that and try to understand why that's happening in Ghana, because it's like people stay for their undergrad and then go. So why not just do it all abroad, or why not just do it all in Ghana, right? Why that's
I
It's
have no
harder
idea.
to
I'm not even
get
sure what the
scholarships.
reason is.
It's harder to
Yeah,
get
that's a
scholarships
common
for
thing. It
undergrad.
really
Undergrad
happens. Yeah.
Much harder to get scholarships for undergrad. That's
than
one.
for like a master's or a PhD.
Yeah, a master's,
Yeah,
which is like
that's
a
true.
1 year or a 2 year program. If it's a PhD, I mean, it's already fully funded anyway, for the most part. But like if it's a master's, it's usually 1 or 2 years, so then easier to get funding.
okay.
Yeah. And I guess if your
Yeah.
family is mainly in Ghana, you being an undergrad in Ghana just it feels like you're still young, so they feel more comfortable feeling like, oh, yeah, you're still at home,
Yeah.
we can still protect you.
Take
Mhm.
care of you.
And then
Mhm.
when you're older, you can go and do your master's, you're an adult now, go into the world type thing.
Yeah.
Get some
Yeah, I think
experience.
yeah, it's quite common.
Like you've also proven yourself, like, you're able to do your
Yes,
undergrad. They know that you're
exactly.
not going to go over there and fail your
You can be
first 4 years.
trusted.
Some
Yep.
people may have done.
Mhm.
Yeah. But also, is it sort of speaking to the education that we have in Ghana, where people, or even maybe the work or employment environment that we have in Ghana, and people perhaps feel like, you know, adding a master's from abroad maybe sets you apart, or, which I'm sure, I don't know, it must do, obviously. But yeah, I would just find it interesting that that's the trajectory of anybody that can quote unquote afford it, is that you do your undergrad in the country and then you're leaving for a master's. And I think in most cases coming back, right? Which is also very
Yeah,
interesting. I don't
yeah.
know.
Probably. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is there well, I don't know. I think probably if you have a master's from like a uni that is well known, say you went to Harvard or something, but even if for 1 day, you went to Harvard for 1 day and it's on your CV, I feel like people are going to stop and say, "Ooh, Harvard, I wonder what she brings."
Yeah.
So maybe there's also that
There's that.
Like
Yeah.
giving you a leg up in the employment sort of.
employment.
But that
Yeah,
also happens here. So I don't
True,
know, where it's
true.
like Ivy Leagues have a bigger reputation than other universities, things like that. So it's I feel like it can be problematic in that people can get a good education in so many universities that will probably not cost as much, but they want to shell up all that money and go to Harvard, or like things like that. Yeah. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, I think it does give you a leg up when it comes to like employment opportunities, depending on who the employers are. I personally think that it gives you a different perspective. If you studied in the Ghanaian education system all your life, getting a different educational system, somewhere, regardless of where it is, makes a difference. It teaches you perspective. It teaches you, oh, this is not how it's always done. It's a thing that Ghanaians have where they think that everything must be done this way, or this is how to learn, or this is how to. So I feel like it gives us all different perspective where it's like you can learn in this way and it's still okay, or you can, yeah, study this way and it's still fine.
Mm. Yeah. It's just something I noticed and found quite interesting. It's like, oh, okay. But
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
Any more themes? Anybody read into the books? Nanajo, are we missing something? Did you write something? And
I
we
guess
haven't
friendship.
yeah, at least I was thinking the same thing. You emphasized
Yeah.
quite a bit on which we didn't get enough of too, like Nanaya NYC's friend circle. Like there was a lot of
Yeah.
conversation about how we used to be a group of 4, we split up for whatever reason, then there was just a group of 2, and we found more friends that came. Like there was kind of that whole friendship piece.
It's a bit too intentional.
What? What did you
Let
say?
me think. Yeah, I'll say probably a bit too intentional because in like the distant future, we're thinking, oh, maybe there could be other books coming out of this friend group and things like that. So we just wanted to set them
Mm,
up to give us something to go back to. But also, I also like the idea of male friendships. I'm such a big fan
yeah.
of men connecting with each other and being vulnerable with each other. So we wanted to also put that in. Abner and I to have some, and I will not just be a man, but like be a man that can be open with his friends. It's still in the, I guess, a manly way, but still, being having friends that he can really connect with.
Mhm. Yeah. I did like that. And I think I did also like you exploring the idea of friendship breakups within male, right? Like male friendships. Because a lot of time a lot of people will say, oh yeah, men, we don't fight. It's like any small thing. We just like they make it
Yeah,
seem like their relation, like the
Mm-mm.
relationship
the
between
person that
men are
has.
very superficial
They
and just
just disappear.
they're just
Yeah, I think they don't
casual.
have a big fight, they disappear.
They
I
just
agree.
disappear.
That's true.
But no, but I think it's nice to see that, even within like men will form their groups and there'll be, the breakups and like the whatever happenings and like the partnering and all of that, depending on who's closer to who, because in any friend group that happens. So I thought that was interesting as well. Um, and yeah, I also like that Afriya had like a diverse group of friends. Like she had her Scottish friends. I think she had a white friend in there. So she was quite like open to sort of different groups of people and made friends easily and seemed, yeah. So I like that her friend like also showed that she was quite worldly in terms of being able to connect with various people. So I like
Yeah.
that. I
I
like
mean,
this
she
as
was in
well.
school in Edinburgh. If you're not trying to be diverse, you will be very lonely. Who's gonna be your
Right?
friend?
There's enough Black
But
people
those
for her to just have
Africans,
her Black friends.
I know she can find just African friends.
How
Yeah.
many will there be? They're not, are they many?
Oh,
Oh,
Edinburgh is quite popular with the Africans, Nigerians and Ghanaians.
Oh, interesting. I
And
feel
it's
like I
very
felt very
Aberdeen and
white.
interesting.
Edinburgh
So Black people are Nigerians, for a fact will be there.
Will
will be
be
everywhere.
everywhere, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what's the next? Cultural relevance. What do we think? I liked that
Oh, I
all
love that.
the characters had Ghanaian names. Felt
Names,
very
yeah.
familiar, felt very close to home.
Mhm.
Again, like I said, the setting of the first scene is literally my
The
backyard.
streets of
And
Accra.
I know that Laboni Kelewele place. I know
Yes,
it.
I love that Laboni Kelewele
I
place.
was my first. I went there in law school. My friend Bertha, who also loves Kelewele, by the way, was sent me that they have hard Kelewele. Yes, they do.
And
Um,
soft Kelewele
I know
too.
that. I know, like
Everyone's
Takrade.
preference. We need to talk about that next.
Uh,
It just
Hard or
felt
soft?
so familiar, and then I liked that. I guess it's going a little bit into the writing, but I like that I was able to read the Ghanaianisms in the writings and the pidgin, and just liked it. I loved it in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Adele, thoughts?
In terms of what the cultural relevance,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I thought it was very well situated in Accra. If you're familiar with the city, like like oh, they went to landing restaurant at the airport, and just before they get to
You
this
learned
restaurant,
it.
like you just
Ah,
know.
London restaurant.
I'm just like I've been to landing, it's still there, it's still, but you know what I mean. So it's very
Isn't
familiar.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But at the same time, I was kind of, okay, I'm kind of wondering if this book is a Ghanaian book, right? Because if it's sold internationally, I'm kind of wondering the relatability for, say, a reader in Kenya or a reader in Canada who's never been to Ghana. Is it some, is it going to, will they be endeared to the book as much as some of us are because, we're very Ghanaian. So I think I struggle with that as well. Maybe not with this book, but just generally thinking about, writing in general or setting your story in a particular place. Especially a place that's perhaps not so that's not in popular culture. You know what I mean? If you said it in London, you said it in New York, it's like we have an idea of what these places are because we see it on TV. But if you're setting it in Ghana very specifically, and using the language and some of that slang and all of that, how it affects sort of like readers that aren't Ghanaian. And not to say we shouldn't do it, but then that means that you're writing for the Ghanaian audience only, or are you writing for something to think about, or talk to us about?
You know, that
I
is
think
no
the
different from
opposite.
books that are written about places we've never been,
Seattle.
that are
Exactly.
set in European countries, and they're having different languages, and they're talking about the foods, and we're just all confused about it. So I think for once, it's nice that somebody else is looking and being like, "Oh, what is Kelewele? What?" Like,
exactly. I love that.
If we're able to use our imaginations and enjoy books set in places we've never been, I think everybody else can too. Yeah, but that's a good point.
Plus, let's put more of
these
books out there so that they're only narrative about African places. It's not all the wars and the hungers and the things that people think were animals hanging in trees in 2025. So I feel like if there are more of these out there, like they'll know that, look, we have all this going on. This is what perhaps popular culture in Accra would look like, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, no, but
I was going to say, just growing up, I read, of course, African writing, contemporary African writing is relatively new, at least to me. I mean, if you're not reading, what's his name? What's it? Ola Rotimi, or like Chinua Achebe, who was not necessarily writing about Lagos life. You know, he was writing deep metaphorical things, which are great. Rural, you understand? So as if I wasn't reading that, I was reading American stories. And then I remember the first time I heard hors d'oeuvre. I think, I'm not sure if that's how it's been pronounced. I've never heard it pronounced in my life, but I've seen it in books for years. I had no idea what that was. Like, what's our hors d'oeuvre? Like,
hors d'oeuvre.
What is this food
everybody's
eating
even want
in
to
every
know
book
what
I'm
I
reading?
used to call it. I would call it hors d'oeuvres. Like,
hors d'oeuvres.
Nobody was trying to explain. There was no glossary with like, explanation with some links, some photos. No, I had to go through my life for years before finally finding out, it's food and it looks like this and looks like that. And I guess in that posturing where nobody really cared, like it's not a negative thing, they're not being mean, but they're just so used to being the main character that they're talking about their life like they are the only ones that exist and we should all just know. And for me, as a writer and as a person, like I'm very passionate about also normalizing my culture so that people will hear Charlie and know that, it's Ghana. Somebody will hear something and say, it's very Ghanaian. Are you from Ghana? Yes, I am. I'm glad you noticed. So that's kind of like what we are going for, Abner and I, in our writing.
Yeah. No, it wasn't sort of like a point against the book. It was more just like a questioning to say, you did this, and and I do like Liz' point, your point, but it's basically saying, we have for a very long time read books based in places we've been, and the part of reading a book is using your imagination to sort of immerse yourself in the culture that's being presented. So, here you go.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you don't write it to have meanings that only people who are familiar with the place will understand, it's all right. If I'm able to tell that Kelewele is a Ghanaian snack and you describe it properly in the book, and I'm able, even if I've never seen it, I don't know what it tastes like or whatever, it's fine. I can use my imagination to know that it's a snack, it's a spicy snack. If I know Labone is a place and you're not really talking about something that only people who know what Labone is will know, and like a broader audience will know. I read a book set in right after your book or before your book, set in the UK, and they were talking about places that were very unfamiliar to me, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Never been, whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. It was also in terms of cultural relevance, I think the sort of the whole marriage thing, like he proposed to her, but bringing in kind of the whole cultural piece about marriage and how that's actually performed, the right way that's performed. I think introducing that's like, well, you're actually not really engaged until we do a knocking, right? Is what that was. But kind of like that was also quite relevant. But a quick question about her taking, is hyphenating names now very common? Because the mother had called her Mrs. Kumsin, and she wanted to be called Mrs. Osei Kumsin, or is it Kumsin Osei? And the father at one point even said, which I maybe even shows, which is true, I think, to that character and to the relationship of Afriya and her dad, is that they're quite a progressive family, because he at some point says, oh, your mother didn't take my last name, which is probably common, or at that time that they were married, you'd imagine it's uncommon for the woman not to take her husband's last name. So I think that's also a piece to be, something that's new perhaps, and that's on point right now with the culture in terms of people hyphenating their names more, women choosing perhaps not to even take their husband's last name. Right.
Which is actually a Western concept, taking your husband's last name.
Yeah.
I know, right? It's not a culture.
It's not a culture. It's very Western.
It's very Western.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're seeing, what is it though? Is there a reverse?
What is the culture? Not to take the name, keep your own name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what do
Also,
your kids have though?
Your
The
kid
kids-
has their
So
dad's
for
name, I
my
think.
culture, the kids will have the dad's name, but from
Yeah.
Ashanti friends, and if I'm wrong, you can tell me, they have the most random different names.
Yeah,
So
they can all have different surnames.
when I was in school, when I went to
There's
school,
nothing like family name.
a culture
Yeah.
shock to me, because there's someone called let me make up something, maybe Mary Adwoa, and I'm like, okay, so what's your last name? And there's no last name, like
Adwoa.
Mary
Adwoa is the last name. What do you mean?
Adwoa is like your name.
That's the
So
last
for
name.
the Ashantis, they have just like, they name you after people, after things,
Mhm.
after whatever. And for my culture, Frafra, you are named after your dad, and it's you have a house, so you come from this house. So maybe your first name from this house, and I guess because of westernization and
Yeah.
Western
And white
influence.
weddings.
Right wedding.
Right?
Exactly.
White
So
weddings
yeah,
are also a new thing.
actually, we've been very progressive since the Middle Ages.
Christianity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. No, so that's what's interesting to see, that I think that might have even with Naya, like I think it would have been, perhaps might have been an option if she didn't even want to take his last name. I don't know, but
Sure. I mean, this guy was in love.
yeah,
Just marry me, please.
yeah.
I don't think do men make a big deal about change? I didn't change my name. I'm not going to. I
Some
don't
men
think
do. Some
men
men
make a
do,
big deal about
definitely.
it. Really? Like you
Some
just
men
want
do.
someone's child to hold your name, but your children will have your name. I'm so confused.
I know, right?
I don't think the
Where
men
do you know
care.
me from?
The
Where do you know me
women
from?
that
That you
really
want to
want to
label
take the
me
name.
with your name.
Yeah, that's interesting. I see.
Some men do, I think. Some are fine with it, I think.
I
But,
don't
but
think
some
men
want
care
you
as
to
much.
take their
I
name.
think they want their kids to have their name, but I don't care. I think they care if their wife has their name. It's the women who
Even they're
really want
creating a family with you.
The women
Why do the women want the name?
because they want to have the same name as their kids, I think, a lot of the time. And also feeling that if it's the same name, it connects me physically, but it's a name at the end of the day.
Yeah. My main stress is all these affidavits and legal documents.
I'm telling
you,
my mom changed her name, and I've seen the hoops she had to, like, I'm not doing it. Also, I like my name.
For a hot second, I was thinking of changing my name as well. And then I thought about the visas. I've got like many countries' passports, and I said, nope, I'm
it's
not
just
doing
too
it.
much logistics.
Yeah, it's
For what
a
reason?
big...
For what reason too? I was like, no.
Also, at least for me, not even from a logistical point of view, but if you waited so long to be married and you've been this character or this person for so long, it's just like, why am I suddenly like at the age of 45, I'm changing my name? I don't fucking think so.
And you need
you
like
built
a
new brand, or you built something around your current name.
Yeah, like a reputation.
Oh, your publication.
Sure, if you guys were getting married to Bill Gates, you would rush.
I don't think I would take his name.
There's exceptions to that.
I would not change my name.
Oh, I'm changing my name. Are you kidding me?
People can call me that. I'm fine if you call me that.
Oh yes, I'm
it's
changing
fine
it.
if you
100%.
call me that.
I don't care. Legally changing it, and matching to the bank and every
Me,
organization.
Yeah,
I
everything
no,
is
I'll
taken
change my
care of.
name to his first name. Call me Bill Gates.
Call me Bill Gates' wife. I don't care.
Your name is
Um,
Mrs. Bill Gates. That's it.
You guys are so funny.
Forget my name and call me
Identity.
Mrs. Bill Gates.
Oh my gosh. Money is a motivator. Oh yeah, so that was another culturally relevant piece, I thought, that whole but yeah, interesting.
And then the
people.
food generally, the
Ah.
food, because food is such a big deal in African culture.
In Ghana.
And the
Oh
type
my
of food
Lord.
is very communal. Like fufu, you can't cook fufu and eat fufu alone. It has to be like a very community-centric, traditionally speaking, obviously, before all of these.
People
It's
here
really
are
eating
doing
Asanka.
food
one
making.
portion.
It's very communal. Someone has to pound, someone has to do this. So you eat as a community, and just I like that you guys built, I guess, a love and a relationship around something that's very common.
Knuckles.
And people actually, and you know, we did this yesterday, we went for a book walk, and you look forward to the food, you look forward to the kenke and the fufu and the wache and all, like it's a part of the community and the culture, and it's
Right, yeah.
just going. So
Food is like a 50%
Absolutely.
why I'm always missing Ghana. Food, all the food.
Wow.
It's
Your mother would like to talk to you.
that I didn't know what it was.
We have
did
a
they eat
phone.
takoradi? I didn't know what it was. Guys,
well,
what did they
Sorry,
eat?
you want
was it?
to say
I
something?
said they ate something in Takoradi, the first stop that they made. I don't remember what they ate, but
Is it acheke?
I check it.
Yeah, what is that? Maybe.
Oh, it's an Ivorian
It's
food.
actually
Girl,
next
is
time you
is it
come,
you would
Nzima
love
food?
it.
I'm
I'll
taking
have you know.
Takoradi to go eat.
really good at Cheke.
Ah, no,
Yes,
Nanaja,
Acheke.
it's Ivorian. I think in Zima
It's in
it's
Zima.
close to it's Ivorian.
Is it
In
meat?
Ghana, it's common in like in Zima people, but like it's an Ivorian meal.
Is it meat?
You know that Nzimas and Ivorians are essentially the same ethnic group, right?
Neighbors, true, neighbors. It's
No,
like
they're
the
actually
Elwas
the same
and
group,
the
just split with the border. So they speak the same language that Nzimas in Cote
yeah,
d'Ivoire and in Ghana. So
yeah.
I guess in kind of like Elwes and people in Togo,
Yes, exactly.
kind of like that. So well, maybe it came from Cote d'Ivoire, but it's very
Yeah, it
native
did.
like
It did. I
in the
remember
Western region.
arguing with someone about this because
But what
I
is
also
it?
thought
I
it
don't
was
know
from
what it
Ghana.
is.
She
Oh,
still
it's
doesn't know
like
what
they
it is.
make
So
it.
there's a glossary, Tipora, so you can
Oh,
check
They
it
I
out.
make
didn't
it
But
out of
it's like
cassava.
couscous. It looks like couscous, right?
Or
Yeah, not
gari.
as
Oh,
big as
like
couscous.
gari.
Like Gary couscous cross.
Okay. But it says it was
They eat
mixed
it
with
with
oil,
Kelewele
black
and
pepper, and
I'm
honey
putting the
buttons.
Wikipedia thing in the chat.
it's so good.
Is that gonna?
I
So
feel like
so the
hold on.
way we describe it is how they eat it on the streets of the Western region. By
Ah,
Accra, it's eaten with
Lord,
kelewele and tilapia and
I promise.
avocado. It's
There's a place in Osu.
Is
There's
this
a place in
spicy?
Osu where you go
be
and stand in line.
for this food. I'm gonna take a look. Yeah, so
Elise,
I wasn't familiar with
you've
that. I was
stood
like,
in line many a time, haven't you? Just to eat
I love
Acheke.
Acheke, I promise.
Like it. It seems very basic.
Oh, you have it with
it
like
is.
sauce.
Honestly, on its
It looks
own,
like
it tastes
gari.
like nothing, in my
oh,
opinion.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like all the accompaniments, usually you
Isn't
eat it
that
with
like every
tilapia.
other Ghanaian food on its own? It's
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah, it's
amazing.
like saying that like when people say they like rice, rice is tasteless, but like
I
Yeah,
love
I know.
if you
rice.
have
You're
it with
right.
like a
But you
good
don't need
piece
rice
of
by
Stew that you eat
itself.
it with.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it now. Okay. Yeah, it's basically gari, you guys. It's a different type of gari, basically, because it's cassava.
Yes,
So
yes, made from
Yeah.
cassava.
But
Yes.
the
In a different
texture
way.
is
the
different.
texture, like they make it differently. Yeah.
Texture is
Yeah.
different.
Amazing. Yeah. So is food anthropology a real subject?
Yes.
I'm sure. I won't be
Yeah,
surprised.
people do it.
I've not
There
been
are
able to
people
speak to
that
this
do
since my
there are people
co-author
that
is
do
actually a
dondology.
PhD. So
Ah.
There are people
so
that
she
do
might be able to speak
dondology.
to this,
I'm
but I'm
pretty
sure,
sure
yeah.
food is a thing. Yeah.
Anthropology. Yeah, I did like that. You know, it felt quite in some area, like I like the book felt quite well researched. So when they were in Edinburgh, it felt like whether somebody had actually actively been to Edinburgh, but you know, the mentions of the tourist sites, like the restaurants that they went to, felt very much like even if we haven't been here, we researched it and it feels like we are in Edinburgh. And with some of the other stuff as well, like I lost my train of thought now, but yeah. In terms of like, talking about food as a place for political discussion, or like what are they called? The street food areas, street food vendors. I like that. I like that in writing, when it situates, it doesn't feel kind of just haphazard, but feels like well researched, like people have done like they're knowledgeable about the topic. It just makes it more realistic. So whether or not food anthropology is a subject, it felt to me like it was. So
I'm being told that it is real. Abna's is real. And
it was
she
I feel like
felt
it's
well
probably
researched
went
is
to school in
because she's a
Edinburgh.
researcher and she lived in Edinburgh. Yes, yes.
right.
Yeah.
So all of that, it felt good. It felt nice to have that real situated in real life. And also pop culture references. We had like Downton Abbey was in there, Pride and Prejudice was in there. You know what I
You
mean?
know, I thought I could
See,
actually
Nico
tell.
and Sakina.
I saw Nico
Nico.
and I saw oh my goodness, this snacking introduced me what is it? Popcorn and milk.
Popcorn and milk.
That was
And
odd.
my
Which Jessie loves now.
it's actually good. Yes.
Is it your
had
snack? I'm
my
like, whose
reservations.
snack is this? Yeah.
Are we okay? Interesting.
What?
It's
Popcorn and
I think
popcorn and
it
milk.
sounds weird, but it actually tastes good. So
But
I
do
knew
you
that.
the whole popcorn and milk, so it's like cereal?
Yeah.
Basically
Yeah,
cereal.
don't submerge it, but yeah, close.
Yeah,
Floating.
it's eating it with cereal.
So
So
is this
And it
like
has to be
evaporated milk?
Yes,
Oh
evaporated milk, not
wow.
whole
I
milk.
thought you were going to say
Ideally,
like
ideal
whole
milk.
milk.
Ideal milk.
Ideal milk.
Oh my
It's not an
Fake
ad.
milk.
I'm just thinking calories here. Wow.
I
Oh
know.
gosh. Elise, it's okay. Live a little. It's
Just
Friday.
saying.
Okay, finally, let's talk about the writing. I think for me, the strongest sense of this book was the writing. I absolutely love the writing. The first page had me. And it's something I think a lot of African authors struggle with a little bit. But it was a dual POV, first person POV book. So Efria had her point of view, Nanayao had her point of view. Similar to you, when I started, I thought perhaps you had written Efria or Nanayao, and then Abena also wrote the other character.
one.
You guys wrote it together. I thought I could tell because I had read 2 of your novellas, I want to say, or 3. So I could tell your writing.
Yeah.
And then when I guessed that this was your writing, it turns out it's Abena's writing instead. So I guess you guys have a similar style of writing, which also goes to show that, to show how, I guess, well written the book is. I liked, like I said earlier, the Ghanaian references and the Ghanaian words and the A and the O and the chale. And like, this is how Ghanaians speak. And I can see it. I see it in my head. I'm able to visualize it. And when Nanaya was speaking with his friends, that's how men around me speak. That's what I know. That's what I grew up hearing. And it just felt very well written. Another thing I have with most African authors, especially contemporary African authors, is they tend to try to show off in their writing. Does that make sense? I'm not going to name names.
In terms of show off in what way?
In terms of trying to use the most Shakespearean language in content.
Oh wow.
We own the language and you will know it.
Like,
and I find that
like it's
a
flowery.
writer is flowery, is someone who uses the simplest words to explain
to make
topics
it easy.
and characters and just make it easy for you to read. I think there's a place in writing for that. If you are a Wallace Soyinka, or you can get away with it because of the type of writings you write. I guess maybe Chinua Achebe, you can get away with it. But if you're writing more contemporary and just modern day African stuff, simple always wins me over. And that's what you guys did. So I really, really love that. Yeah. So the prose and the writing was the one with the highest score for me in all of this.
Elise?
What about you, Elise?
I like the writing as well. I always like good banter. I feel like a book y- a book is good if there's good banter in it, you know? If people are writing are speaking comfortably, and it doesn't feel like if this was in real life, it would be strained silences and like,
Right,
then you
right.
know that a book is good. So I really enjoyed the writing. And I think that they were able to write good chemistry between the two people, which was really nice. Yeah,
Sorry.
I
And
really
let me
like the
say this.
writing.
Even though you probably, I think the first sex scene was well written. So kudos to you.
See,
I think it was well written.
I actually felt quite proud of it
without
when I
doing
wrote it.
too
I feel
much.
you left
It was,
out.
yes.
You left
I
out.
I felt
You should take a picture
you
and
got
send it to
Felt
the
turned
group,
on.
Jessie.
no, I didn't.
It was
Oh yeah, you did. No, it's good. That's how you
How
know
dare
it's
Just
good.
you?
share. Are you blushing?
Jessie, take a picture of that
Please
page
send
and
me a
send it to
tag.
the group.
I will. But I thought it was well written, and yeah, some sex scenes can be very cringe, and
And
generally
you're
I
like,
skip
what's
over
going on? I don't think
and
it's real. Yeah. So this
yeah.
was nice.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the writing was very strong. I don't know where I read a comment or maybe got a glimpse of like a review, and someone has said that the writing was verbose, which I'm not even sure what I need to look that up. But
Like too many words.
yeah, I don't know.
Think
But
so.
anyway, and this was before I'd read the book, so I almost expected
Okay.
kind of like long drawn conversations, like overly descriptive, like things like, filler words. Like you don't need to say all of this. You could have just said A, B, C, D, and but I didn't get any of that from the book, actually. I didn't get any of that. So I don't know who wrote that review, or if I was even reading the right review attached to the right book. But yeah, right. But yeah, I didn't find any of that. I thought every word was used well, a way to convey meaning, or to drive in a point. Everybody's already said this, but banter was amazing. Yeah, you know what? Conversation felt natural, and it was a lot of just conversation between the two of them. And so it needed to feel natural, and we needed to feel like we were falling in love with them, and to see the sparks kind of going. And I think the teasing had to be also well done, because if you're teasing somebody and like always having them like on the edge of, especially when it came to like that sex piece, right? Like we needed to believe that. And I think that came through. So well done, guys.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Thank you so
well done.
much.
I'm pleasantly surprised by the quality of the writing, the banter. It made me smile. You know, when you're reading a book and you're
Wow.
smiling. I'm
Yeah,
like,
just
Oh.
smiling. Yeah.
and I just want to meet somebody too, or like if I'm ever attracted, like I just love that intellectual connection where you're able to just volley back words and back and forth. And I attractive quality in men, or that's a way to build connection. So it made it believable for me that was happening. So yeah, there's nothing really about the writing that I didn't like. Yeah.
And I think the fact that they are two people and we couldn't really tell is also really, really like laudable, because some people will write and you can tell chapter from chapter, this is not the same flow as this other
Yes.
chapter. So that was really, really good. Yeah.
Right, exactly. That was written by two separate people, and that's not noticeable at all. Yeah, I think that's a real testament to how well paired they are in terms of writing style, or just how they think, basically, as a pair. So yeah, that was good.
Yeah. All right. So now let's rate the books per category.
I want to pick a bone with the end. I
think the plot is where it loses some stars for me, because I think
because of that
they
ending.
didn't know each other that well to be getting married.
Also, the quick.
I know it happens in real life, but for me, and in my opinion,
say I'm
because
marrying from
you spend 2 weeks in Ghana, you go to
Najwa, is for
you guys
either
are
of
not, you're not
you,
talking.
was this real?
You're not together in physically, and you get married in what, 3 months?
See?
No, she comes
No.
back and then you propose or something. I'm just like, girl,
like, this is so awkward.
why are you rushing? Do you know this man? Do you know this woman? No, you don't.
Yes.
It
So
just felt like
y'all
y'all wanted a wife, and found this girl and latched onto this girl, and I was
You
like,
put
he
inside
said
my
that
wife box.
in 2 months you will be my wife.
Yeah. So
and
is
even
that
in
the
that 2
plot?
months, it's not as if there's forced proximity.
Together.
So you have to,
Mhm.
like, you know
You were
them,
apart.
you were
Yeah.
apart, you were not talking, you were
Fighting
Yeah.
most of it. Miscommunicating most of it.
right. So I felt like, yeah, it's you guys should date some more. Date for 5 years, 6 maybe.
Babe.
Yeah, so that's where it lost me. I thought it was like a beautiful romantic story, but I didn't, yeah, you're right. I didn't see the
If
rush.
we could have had like a whole 1 year later, like even
Or it could
8
have
months
ended without them
later.
getting married, but getting
It should have,
together.
it should have
Getting
ended,
to
I
know
feel,
each other.
without them getting married.
Getting
Just
to know
them
each
finally
other, right.
being together,
Yeah.
happy, going on another trip, whatever it is, but just finally together. So
Mhm.
that's where
I
it lost
agree.
And then an epilogue with a baby.
Wait, is that what
An
happened in the
epilogue
epilogue?
from like,
No, I
you
may
know, like
say,
they could
like,
have
maybe-
put an
so
epilogue
we
from
know
like
they're
10
married.
years later.
Ah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Where
if
it's
you
like,
wanted to
oh, they
close
got
the
I don't
book,
married.
remember how many years the epilogue was.
yeah, especially if you want to close the book and not have to write a second series, you can, have an
Mhm.
epilogue and it wraps it all up. So yeah, I read that the end just a couple of days ago. I'm just like, oh, I didn't like that it ended that way. So that's where it lost me as well, Jessie.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Same.
Fair.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for prose and writing, as I said, this was like the highlight of the book for me. So I'll give it a 5 out of 5. Also because it had a lot of
Same.
Ghanaian words. If you write and you add as a Ghanaian author, you've won me over.
Noted.
See?
Cultural relevance. I know you guys wrote a romance, and I don't want to philosophize and go into it, but I think that you ended up writing a book like that with such deep themes that I think we can connect with, especially themes around food, family, what else? For me, religiosity. So I absolutely like that. I'll give cultural relevance and themes a 4 out of 5. I'll give characters because Ifri is very annoying.
Honestly.
And I liked her. I don't know, Elise, blame Elise.
At least I spoiled you. She was your friend before you got here.
I know. Characters. I liked her dad. I liked Nana Yao. I absolutely loved Nana Yao is a man written by a woman, written by 2 women.
Yeah.
The kind of man.
I love that for every year.
Unrealistic.
Absolutely love that for every year.
Yeah, there's
Unrealistic.
true.
A
What's
man
the
who
side?
will give you oral sex and say, you know what, it's fine, I'm fine, several times, and then say, okay, let's wait till marriage. You don't have to give me oral sex back.
I think that's unrealistic.
No, it
That's
is
like
realistic.
I'm
It
not gonna
happens
do
all
anything for
the
you.
I think
But
the
with-
part
but
that
with
makes it
some pushback.
unrealistic.
because
Yes.
there was no pushback.
Okay.
The
All right,
part that makes
Some
it
sort of try to
unrealistic is
run
the
the
Pushback
fact
circle.
on whose part? Pushback on whose part?
this part.
Oh, okay. For like him to push back, or at least to try to get her to do something as well.
And then
Yeah, because
agree.
I feel like it would be fine if he was like, okay, no sex before marriage, but he wouldn't be dishing out oral sex. Like if he's dishing that out, he's
Dishing.
trying to get that.
If it's on the menu, he's also hoping for
Exactly.
He's not
Let's
with
let's have a
tonight.
view.
Can I eat too? Can I be eaten?
Can I be
Exactly.
eaten?
Characters. I'll give characters 3.9, only because I'm giving themes 4. And then plot. As someone who doesn't read romance, I was able to read this to the end and I enjoyed it. And it was very, like I said, it did what it was supposed to do. It was comforting. And it's, so far I've read 2 books like that. Like they've done what they're supposed to. They're comforting. You feel some way. You feel the feels. It's sweet when you read it. So I think it's I'll give it, even though I didn't like how it ended, but it was able to hold my attention till the end. I'll give it 4.5 out of 5. And writing, as I said, 5 stars.
Final rating?
Final
How do we
rating.
do that? Oh,
I
so
guess
it's not an average of the whole thing.
It should be, but it's okay. Just give
I
just
don't
give
know
it an
how
average
to.
rating. Like considering
my
all, yeah.
my Poka rating will be a 4.75.
Ooh. We
Okay.
doing
Nice.
it's not just 0.5 because I'm going to go 0.7,
0.75.
1.3.
Writing bumped it up a lot for me. So,
Yeah.
0.75.
Oh, good.
I think for me, same plot is what took out a lot for me. So I gave plot like a 3.5. And then I would give character a 4 because a free A. But the themes, 5, definitely a 5. Cultural relevance is also a 5. I like it when I read books where I know these places. So and that also people can learn about these places. And then the writing was 10 out of 10, so also a 5. So
Right.
yeah, I feel like my final rating would be like a 4 or like a 4.25 because plot and a free.
it's creative away from it.
Free is
Honestly,
separate.
and the funny thing is that I probably have been an affiliate in my past. So this
I
is
was
just
going to
me
say, I was going to say,
compensating.
Imagine you're triggered by her because she reminds you.
triggered by seeing herself in the mirror.
You're like,
Very
trying to forget
triggered.
that side of myself. Yeah, right. All right, let's see. I think plot, I would do a 3.5 as well. Again, I think, honestly, it's the blast piece, is the marriage piece, because I just felt like that was rushed. So, yeah, so that kind of took off points. Characters, you know what? I like both characters. If I liked the Freya quite a bit. Who I didn't like as much was Nanayao, who I felt was maybe a little bit unbelievable as a man, because it's like, you have a
This is
woman
good to be
throwing
true.
herself. Yeah, she's throwing herself.
All men in romance books, unbelievable.
And you're like, hold on, let's wait till, like, he was too, yeah. So his character was maybe a little bit unbelievable. And I also needed to know that he has some, we want characters that have a bit of a dirty side too. Like they're, and I Freya gave that. She
Adele.
delivered. She was amazing, but she also a bad, she could also be annoying. And I think most people are dual, like you're good, but you're also bad.
Yeah.
We didn't see too much of Nanayao's bad side.
Mhm.
Themes, I think I'd give that maybe a 4. Yeah, I'd say 4 because I thought, oh, thank you. I wanted to see sort of more controversial themes maybe explored. And I don't know how, but I feel like we could have, poked the demon a little bit, like just more controversial themes, even. I mean, nothing was directly said, but I thought maybe even with the sex piece, the marriage piece, I don't know, like it's just, let's flip society's thinking a little bit. Let's be more
This is a sweet
provocative.
romance.
I know, right? So I'm saying maybe it's not the place for
Description of the book.
My one
Sweet quality romance.
here I am saying.
You're looking for a different book.
Yeah. That could be also, maybe that's a little bit unfair because it is supposed to be a sweet romantic book, not some sort of political upheaval.
Let's get
Anyways. So maybe a 4 there. Cultural relevance, I think it was quite relevant. So maybe a 4.5. Prose writing, I'll give that a 5. So yeah, my overall, I think is, let me see. Let me hold the book. I need to feel it.
Yeah,
okay, the book will give you some energy.
You can do our general Poka rating.
A general Poka rating. You know what? I liked the book. I liked it. I will give it a 4.5. Yeah.
So what's our Poka rating? And yeah, the Kelewele Connection. Good book, good book. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
But let's hear more from, I think, Adwoa in terms of the, how I felt writing it. Just like give us a little bit more about, this was your first book, essentially, like full novel. So are you happy with what it turned out? How the feedback you're getting, like how was it writing it? Just a sense as well of.
Yeah. So Jesse, you were asking, I mean, I've written other things in the past, mostly not novellas. I think the Christmas Return is somewhere, and there's also the
Oh
final thing, also
yeah,
somewhere
I read that.
on the interwebs. But this was my first time writing with Abena as like a duo.
Hmm.
And also our first, this is like a longer form, and we went quite like ham on marketing it and actually trying to get people to read it as opposed to just chucking it on Amazon and hoping for the best. So yeah, we had a fun time writing it. We must have written it in less than a year, I want to say.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really fun. We absolutely enjoyed getting to know the characters and hearing your feedback. I like there's bits that I would change. For example, I think that when we wrote the marriage scene, initially the reason why there was a marriage scene was so that they could finally have sex. Like then we could like
I
properly
yeah,
like
Girl,
yeah.
Girl,
just go all
they
out.
got it
So
anyway.
yeah, which then we ended up not like pulling our punches on that and not actually properly writing the scene. So maybe then they didn't need to get married. They could be together and planning for a marriage at some point. Obviously, when you're dating somebody, you talk
yeah.
about these things. So they could have done something like, oh yeah, like this really is it's for me. I can see myself with you in the long haul and just enjoy their relationship a little longer. Because I do see your points
Mhm.
about how much time they spent apart and not talking and miscommunicating. And so suddenly moving to marriage, maybe like, guys, give it some time. But so I think maybe like, I don't know, 6 months to a year of dating, I would have been fine with. They didn't need 5 or 6 years.
Not too
Like
long.
generally, I would have
I mean,
found that
6 months in
realistic.
Ghana together would have been fine. Like 6 months continuously hanging out in Ghana if they decide they now want to.
Uh-huh.
I think that's perfect. But it's like they spend
um,
too much time apart, I think.
okay.
Yeah. So
I
that
think
that
six
that
months
that
is
does
still
make
short,
sense.
but yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
agree with
I'm just seeing a message from Abena, which makes sense that we had been writing the characters for a while, going back and forth, writing them for a while. So I guess
So
we
you
didn't see our
thought
little
you
time.
guys.
you thought that they were, yeah,
In
they
our
had been
minds, these
together.
people have been panting at each other
Yeah.
for years. But really, when it comes down to you read the book and you're like, oh wait, it's all together cumulatively probably like 3 months. And here
Yeah.
they are with wedding bells and everything. And one of the parts that I personally enjoyed writing was actually the knocking and like planning the traditional wedding because like I just really like the idea of kind of bringing back the knocking as the traditional engagement because going on one knee while great isn't really that's not
What
Ghanaian
we
culture because
call
if your
engagement.
parents are not
Yeah.
aware of it, yeah, getting your knees on your bring schnapps home.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's
Exactly.
when you know that
Come and knock
bring
on
your family, bring the drink,
yes.
come and knock on the door, and they'll say,
Yeah.
"Oh, you've seen a flower in our house, and I hear you want to come and collect the flower," and then you say yes. Those are like
And then
that's
they'll call you
how
out and they'll say, Are you is this man?
is
Do you
this
know
the
this
man that you
man?
want?
Is this, do you want to
Yeah.
go? Do
He's
you want
not
to go with
shyly.
him?
Girl. Yes, like, yes,
As
please.
if you've
So
never
like,
seen him again in your life.
yeah, because and some
Uh,
families would say, well, if he hasn't come to knock, we don't know him. So if another man
mhm.
comes behind him and says, "I want to marry you," we'll say
We'll,
yes, because as long as
we'll
we
say
know
yes
you're
to
single,
him.
we'll say yes to
That's
this
Ghanaian
random
culture
new
right
guy.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to bring like the idea of that spotlight that for us and Abner and I wanted to spotlight that and kind of just make people proud of their culture as Ghanaians. So I'm glad that that happened. Yeah, we really enjoyed writing this. And if you have our newsletter, you've seen a snippet of MFA and Kabila's story,
It's
which
coming out.
we
I mean, I get the
is
newsletter, but I haven't.
believing it's
Okay,
a
okay.
work in progress, but
I
we've been
love
working
it.
on it for that one
Story.
is taking us much longer.
I like that story.
I know you guys are romance connoisseurs, but knowing you and Abena personally and knowing how you feel about things and like Abena's PhD and just your political leanings and all of
Uh-huh.
that. It'll be nice to write a book with like complex characters and exploring these things that we talk about and these are
Yeah, I think,
polarizing things, which is not
yeah.
necessarily a romance, but maybe the romance can be
Mhm.
the or not at all. I think it'll be great, especially with
Especially with the level of writing.
and
That
how
would be cool. That would
militant
be
you are
cool.
with your views.
Yeah.
Both
No, but I think for
will be nice
first
to
attempt,
see, like,
yeah,
political statements, but not too on the nose, but the subtlety,
Yeah.
themes and all of that. It would be nice to read that.
Yeah. But I do think that for a
Noted.
first sort of writing author, it's kind of like you're maybe a little bit more cautious. But I do think when your storytelling is supposed to, yes, whether it's a personal transformation or societal transformation, I think it should contribute to that in some way. And so I'd love to
Yeah.
read more from, Kwatima, Trinaboa, but kind of, don't leave out the sex scenes. I feel, but yeah, explore that. And
You can write
Adele is going to love.
with it. You can write a book where they're married. And
Exactly.
Talked about it, like
Love
people who are married and are having problems. And actually, that's something very dear to my heart because I'm a big fan of marriage and I want people to be happy in their marriage. So, like people that are working through their problems in their marriage,
Marital
struggling and coming back
issues.
together, marital issues, very big passion of mine. So, you know what, that might be. In which case, they'll have sex every day. Adele, don't worry.
Adele, I'm going
Tired
to
of
send you the link to Akai and Alima because I feel like you will love it. It's
Oh, okay. Yeah,
spicy.
send it in the group so Rosalind can also take a look.
Okay.
But yeah, so final Poka Reads rating with all our whatever was actually right down the middle, 4.5.
all right.
So
4.5, you said?
4.5, yeah, with all our
Okay, all right.
together.
No,
So
not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it's a good
guys.
reading.
Oh,
What is
you
our
can
next
find
book
this
though?
book at
Oh,
the Akinkan bookshop, which also
Yep.
happens to be the author's bookshop.
Author's bookstore.
Or you can find it on Amazon.
Yep.
Do we have a Poka discount? Are you giving us a Poka discount?
Please give us a
On
Poka
Amazon, we
discount.
can't, though. We cannot give discounts on Amazon privately. We tried.
Oh,
If you
really?
order from Akinkan, you get a discount.
You do get a
Just
discount,
show your
yes, if
app
you show your
Nice. Okay.
card.
and then you get a really nice discount. Great book, great book. Highly
Yeah.
recommend. If you're looking for something
Awesome.
cozy and sweet.
Right. It's a good book.
On a rainy day.
On a
So
rainy day,
Adele,
like now.
I know the Kelewele and tea and maybe popcorn and milk.
Oh.
What's our next book?
I'm
Yeah,
not
what is our
confident
next
for that
book?
yet, but yes, if you guys enjoyed this Poka Reads or any or the last Poka Reads, the next one is scheduled for, I think, 30th of, is it May? So just a few weeks from now. And we'll be reading Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. Excited, that's my pick. I've never read anything by her. So I'm excited to see what this book is all about, actually. So yes, read along with us.
Children
We'll
of
be back with
Blood and
Poka
Bone.
Reads. Sorry?
No, I was just repeating Children of Blood and Bone.
Children of Blood and Bone. Yep. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Yeah.